Hi, welcome back. This class is dedicated to pregnant ladies, and I have a pregnant lady right here. This is Emma. Welcome, Emma. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. You know, I'm not looking exactly pregnant, but I have been pregnant before. So I've delivered 2 children, so I know what it's like, and it's really important that you know exactly what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. So I've asked Emma to come along today and be on camera so that you can see some of the practices that you can include in your day and not be afraid to have these kinds of movements because it will help you overall. Before we get started, if you enjoy this video and find it helpful, please give it a like. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe and don't forget to click the bell so that you are notified when the new videos are uploaded. Now let's get started. All right, so we're going to start in Sukhasana. So Emma is sitting in Sukhasana now. So just take your legs out in front of you and just observe the outer sides of the feet. Outer sides of the feet coordinate with the outer sides of the legs. So when you bend your knee, bring the outer side of the foot onto the floor, not too close in, and then bend the other and come in, so that your calves are crossing right in the center, not so much on the ankle, yeah? And then you can release the knees down. And with that little extra support on the feet, the knees can release down further, and then use your hands, press down. Take your hands back behind you. Good. Now you want to be right on your sitting bones. And the tendency when you're pregnant is because you have a lot of, your center of gravity is moving forward now, right? So your pelvis is tilting, and you can get a lot of overarching in your lower back. So just be aware to descend your tailbone down. That's it. And from there, you can feel that there's a lift of your pelvis, which will help to make things lighter. If you can be aware of that dip in the pelvis and the rotation in the pelvis to keep that lifted. You can even sit a little bit closer, right at the wall, if you want to bring your hips to the wall, a little bit further back, and have that back support. Okay? So now the tailbone is moving closer to the wall, tailbone's moving down, and then you can widen through your collarbones, bring your shoulders back, and now lift up through the pelvis more. Not overarching, lift the pelvis more. So bring the tailbone down. So that's it, that's it. So you can feel length coming through the lower back. All right, see if you can maintain that. Bring your hands out in front of you, interlace your fingers, and turn the palms out. Okay, so keep that heaviness of the hips and the legs, feeling the weight on the feet, and then extend up, Parvatasana, bring your arms up, and press up as if you were maybe doing a handstand on the ceiling. Lift the arms up, and with that, that will help to lighten that heaviness that you feel in the front. So with the arms, we can start to extend through the side body. And then bring the hands down. Try not to descend through the trunk. Keep that lift from the pelvis, lifting up, bring the hands down. Change the cross on the fingers, and then turn the palms out again. Inhale, use your inhalation and lift up. As you do that, move the knees and thighs down, so that downward action of the hips and the thighs, the legs, and that lifting up. Good. Now you can feel your shoulders at the wall. The shoulders are moving back toward the wall. Come a little bit away from the wall, and I'm just going to bring my hand there. So the shoulder blades moving forward, and bring the hands up and back. Can you feel the difference in the tops of the shoulders descending, shoulder blades descending, and the arms moving back, keeping the chin parallel to the floor? Okay, keeping that action of the shoulder blades moving away, bring the arms down. Do you feel a difference there? Yeah, so when you deliver the baby, well, already, because the chest is getting heavy, you'll have a tendency to be sinking, and you'll have a tendency to tilt the pelvis as well. So to try and just be aware of it when you can, to lift up through the chest, from the sternum bone, and moving the shoulders back, you can bring the shoulder blades down and forward towards your chest. So when the shoulder blades, if you think of your shoulder blades as shoulder pads, you know, well, they are blades, but often they become pads where they lift up toward the shoulders. So they're wide at the top and narrow at the bottom. So you want to have them move down like a blade. Okay? Now that will help you when you're nursing as well, you know, because if you're holding the baby like this all the time, you're going to tend to get that tightness through the shoulders and the arms, as I'm sure you experienced on the first one. So the more you can lift up and open, and you can use the wall to help you feel when you're not doing that, when that middle back is moving toward the wall. Yeah, exactly. Well, being tall, I'm sure you're conscious of it anyway, you know. Okay, so now we're going to come out of this pose, and I want you to turn your blankets like so, and you'll come down onto your knees. So just watch. I'm bringing the blankets back, coming down onto the knees, and I have the blankets between the ankles. And then you're going to sit down and have the blankets just under your sitting bone. So pull the blankets back, that's it. Good. So stretch the front of the ankles, stretch the fronts of the toes. Due to the condition of pregnancy, we can tend to get a lot of puffing in the ankles, swelling, and that circulation needs to happen. So this sitting in Virasana helps to bring that circulation to the toes, to the ankles, to the hips. And then again here, just be aware of how you're sitting. So that pubic bone is diving toward the floor. Can you bring your tailbone down? And when you bring your tailbone down, bring your shoulders back. That's it. Good. So you're feeling that width across the front of the chest, feeling the shoulders move down. And if you can think of it this way, that the back of the head and the tailbone are in line. If you were standing, it would be back of the head, tailbone, and the heels. So this is moving in, this is rolling back. Good. So you're getting nice length here. Now take your arms up again like you did before, Parvatasana, interlace the fingers, and reach up. So feel the weight on the feet, pressing down into the feet, into the ankles, into the shins, using the legs in that downward action to get that lift and that lightness. So you're opening through the armpit chest, shoulder blades, shoulders are moving down, and shoulder blades are moving forward. Good. Breathe. Breathe through your nose. Keep your mouth closed. And then bring your hands down. Change the cross on the fingers. So now bring the thighs closer together. That's it. So using the legs, the knees, the thighs, the whole foundation to get that extension. And that's it. Good. Lifting up. Good. So you create that lightness on the pelvic floor by lifting up. If we're just sitting around, we tend to sink. So it's when we engage our arms that we're able to get the length through the front body, which is critical when you're pregnant because you have a lot happening. You have your diaphragm, your abdomen, all the internal organs, right? And the baby. So it's a lot happening. Bring your hands down. Exhale. All right. Good. Now, just going to have you bring your right arm up, bend the elbow, take the hand back, and then take the other arm and bring it behind, and see if you can catch your fingers. You can use a strap if you can't. So here, the outer arm is turning in, rolling in, inner arm is rolling back, and you're dropping the shoulders. And then still widening through the collarbone, you're bringing that shoulder back. Good. Using that upward lift of that arm to still get that extension through the side trunk. Okay, and tailbone moving down, even more. And then release the arm. Good. Stay with your breath, so breathe. I don't want to trip here. Okay, let's do the other arm. Bring your left arm up, bend the elbow, take the arm back, just take it back, and the direction is from the outer arm in, so turning in, that's it. And then elbow in line with the armpit. Bring your hand back. Okay, so the tendency with this one is to lift from this side more and shorten on this side. So lift through this armpit chest without lifting that shoulder. That's it. And balance yourself. Good. Stay with the breath. Lift the pubic area up. That's it. Lift up through the chest. Feel where the weight is now when you did that on your hips. So it's a way for you to monitor yourself. All right. And then bring your arms down. Good. Just take a few breaths. Relax your shoulders down. Okay. So now you're going to turn toward the wall. I'll just show you here. I'll move my blanket. I'm going to come onto both knees, and I'm turning the bottom foot and bringing the top foot over the arch of the bottom foot. Okay? And then both knees will be on the floor. Both thighs will be on the floor. And I'm going to turn toward the wall. All right? So you're bringing your fingertips to the wall. If you're in your first trimester, you're not going to be doing this, but you're in your second. Anyone in their second or third, it's fine. So pressing the knees down, lifting up, bring your fingertips to the wall. And when you do that, the tendency is going to be on this outer hip. So keep that outer right hip down. And inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn. Keep your shoulders moving down, shoulder blades moving down. Good. Now, lift up through the pelvis, descend the tailbone, and bring weight onto this hip so that as that moves down, then you can inhale, lift up, exhale, turn. Good. Revolve, come back to the center. And you're going to change sides now. So maybe you're quite open and flexible in the joints. You've been doing a lot of practice with yourself and your body. So some people may need to sit on the blanket. So take the same pose again. So now you can see this hip is lifted a bit. All right, so I'm going to ask Emma to lift up, and I'm going to put this blanket just under that right pelvis so that she can bring more evenness to the pelvis. Dropping the tailbone, dropping that left hip down, using the fingers connected to the arms to get that extension through the side trunk. So here you can see her shoulders moving down, shoulder blades moving down, and as you use your fingers, press the fingers into the wall, lift your front chest. Stay with your breath. Exhale, turn toward the wall. So take a few breaths like that, anchoring down through the hips. Inhale, lift up, and then exhale, turn. All right, and then you can release, come back to the center, and then straighten both legs out, coming to Dandasana. So as you, and I'm going to have you sit on this blanket too. Okay, so she's got giving her a little bit of height. The more height she can have, the more she can lift up through the lower back. Otherwise, depending on your body condition and your pelvis, it could be tilt your tailbone down so that you're more on the backs of the thighs if your hamstrings are short, so then it drags the lower back down. So taking a little bit of height, a little bit of support, will put you right on your sitting bones, and you'll be able to lift up through the back. Okay? So taking this strap, you can take this around the feet, and just bring the feet hips width apart. Okay, so when you're pregnant, it's best to do all of your standing and seated poses with the legs separated. Okay? Draw your toes back to you, lengthen the backs of the legs. You can see your kneecaps, tighten the kneecaps and draw them up. Good. So her shoulders are descending. She's able to get that lift. And now go forward with a concave back. So bend your elbows out to the side. No, your elbows. And keep this moving inward and keep that lift. So you don't want to have the baby touching your thighs, so you keep lifting up and work on getting that concavity. So now lift your chest more. That's it. Moving from here, any amount. Now just relax your hands so you don't go numb in your fingers, right? And keep your elbows bent out to the side, and then go forward any amount you can. That's it, with a concave back. So when we're doing forward bending and we're pregnant, we want to maintain that concave action. We're not going very deep into the pose at all. Okay? Stretch the toes back to you. Move the knees down, move the thighs down, and breathe. All right, and then release. Good. Okay, now you're going to have your back at the wall and continue to have something to sit on, but let's change the blanket up a bit, make it more narrow, like this. So you have it narrow, and then you're going to bring your back to the wall as well. Now, if you've been practicing a while, you may not need that back support, but I'm showing the back support because it really helps you to get that, establish the openness of the chest, the shoulder blades. All right, so now you're going to bring your feet apart, Upavistha, and have them here on the mat. Okay, you're not going to be able to bring them on the mat because we're at the wall. Okay, so that's okay. So now I'm going to have you take this strap, and I'll give you a strap for the other leg. You're going to hold that strap similar to the way you did when you had both feet together. So you're going to move into that concave back position again. Okay, so first, lengthening the backs of the legs, extend the heel, draw the toes back towards you, and take the legs as wide as you can. That's it. Okay, so you can look at your knees. Your knees are facing up toward the ceiling, which means this front thigh is facing up toward the ceiling. The back thigh is moving down toward the floor. And first, just sitting up tall, lift the pubic bone up, lift up through the chest, drop your shoulders. Breathe. And see, if you take your hands down a little bit further, yeah, hold the strap with straight arms, and at the same time, move your shoulders back. So both hands, walk them down. Even though the arms are lengthening, you're still drawing the upper arms back towards your shoulders. Drop your shoulders, move the shoulder blades down. Yeah, could you feel how much you had your shoulders lifted? So we have a lot of tension in our neck, so always just releasing the shoulders down, releasing, softening the neck, softening the face. Okay, so now we're going to come forward a little bit. So staying in the same position, but keeping the pelvis lifted, yeah? And then you're going to hinge forward, because we move from here when we go forward, and you're not going to go low, but you're going to use that same concave back position. So pressing the heels down, toes are facing up toward the ceiling, and then move from here. Keep lifting up through the pelvis, concave the back. You can walk your hands down the strap a little bit and pull with the strap. And with that action, that's it. Lift the chest. Lift up. See if you can walk your hands down further on the strap and straighten the arms. And as you pull back, lift the chest. Okay, lift the chest. So you can feel here this movement right where the bra strap is. This is where osteoporosis starts in a lot of women because the back is rounding. So lifting right from the front of the sternum, moving that in, using the arms to get that lift and create lightness through the lower pelvis and the lift in the chest. How's that feeling? Good? Yeah. So again, here we're using the arms to get that length through the side trunk, but we're also bringing awareness into the back. So when you are going to be sitting for a while doing breastfeeding or however you're going to feed the baby, there'll be a tendency to round your back. So starting to, before you deliver, to develop these muscles. And if you've been practicing before, you'll already have that awareness, but it is important to develop that awareness to keep the lift of the chest. Okay, and then inhale, come up. All right, good. So now you're going to bend your knees and come into Baddha Konasana. So with the legs out to the side, bring the feet in. Good. Now so here you'll want to sit up higher. When the knees are like this, it creates tightness in the groin, and also it goes into the lower back. So let's see, I might give you a bolster here to sit on and see if this is going to help. And if not, then we'll take the blanket as well. It's a bit better. Let me give you one extra blanket and see how that feels. Better, Yeah. So you can feel the difference, the tightening in the groin, and then the baby is probably sinking down to the floor at that point, right? So you want to make space. You want to keep that lift. All right, so you can take your hands just onto the bolster and press down. Use the arms to descend, and descend your tailbone down. Roll your shoulders back. Press the feet together, even the toes. Have the mounds. You have bones in all of the mounds and the heel. Press the soles of the feet, especially the heels and the mounds together, and just allow the inner leg to lengthen. You can feel that hip connection there where the blanket is. So here, from the inner leg, you're lengthening. Here, from the outer knee, you're drawing back. So there's a support there at the joint. So you're not over-opening in the joint. You are opening, but you're also, at the same time, protecting the joint, okay? Good. Now, I'll let you take your arms up the wall and have your thumbs at the wall and slide your thumbs up. So as you slide the thumbs up, descend your shoulders, descend the shoulder blades, and keep the arms so that you have that space, so the hands and the arms are in line with your shoulders. Breathe through your nose. As you reach the arms up, drop the shoulders. Okay, take the hands down. Good. All right, so we'll come out of Baddha Konasana now. This feels nice, doesn't it? Yeah. So this is a really important pose for when you're pregnant because, you know, there's just so much opening that has to happen here. And there's so much opening that has to happen in the pelvis. And when the baby starts to come, you want that opening to be more natural. Okay, so this is a really important pose. Another way that you can do that, we won't do it today, but you can just come to the wall and have your hips at the wall and come into a squat. And you can bring your arms, inner arms here, and just be in this position. And you can take a block to sit on. So I'll just show you. That might be, if you're holding it for a while, it might be difficult to hold that long. So you come into this squat position. You can even have the block this height, and then turn the feet and sit at the wall. Okay? So here you're getting that opening, using the feet to press and the heels to press, lifting up through the chest. Well, as long as I'm showing it to you, let's try it. Okay, so let's use the block. There you go. Good. Yeah, I would take the higher position, and then just be careful going into it. That's it, good. Now drop your tailbone. You can feel how the back is lifting. Right, now come onto the toes more, lift the heels up, and turn the feet out toward, no, turn them this way, yeah. So you connect the heels. that more supportive? Yeah, good. So then you can take, instead of having your hands on your knees, you can take your hands on the inside of the legs and use that gentle press as you press up against the wall, open the chest, lift up, and then you can use the arms to open. How's that feel? Yeah. So you can imagine if you do this every day until you deliver, you're feeling a lot more openness through the legs and a lot more openness through the pelvis. So always remember to breathe. Breathe through the nostrils. Keep the mouth closed. Dropping the shoulders. And here we're using the wall. So we use different props in Iyengar yoga, and one of them is the wall. The wall helps us to know when we're aligned and how we can adjust ourselves so that there's length coming, there's space coming, and there's maybe, if there's tension on one side, you can feel it with the wall. Okay? All right, so let's come out of this one. Okay, now we're going to do a few standing poses. Well, before we do that, let's just go into one seated pose. So you'll take one blanket, and you'll sit in that direction. I'll just show here. And you'll use your strap. So it's coming off of the pose that we just did, which was Baddha Konasana, cobbler's pose, which one knee was bent. So you're bending the knee, you're bringing the foot up, and then you're going to take the strap on the other leg. And here, again, first you start with the straight leg. Hold the strap and keep it you're not gripping too tightly, but then move your shoulders back so your shoulders are over your hips. Now descend your tailbone. Drop the shoulders. And then just be aware of that bent knee side. Press the bent knee into the floor. Turn your left waist, your left chest to face that straight leg. Okay. And then you're going to lift up, look up, bring your chin up toward the ceiling, and feel how that helps you to lengthen the whole front body. And now, coming forward with that concave action, keep the shoulder blades moving in, come forward any amount, walk your hands down the strap, use the arms on the strap to get that lift and that movement from the upper back. Good. And then come up. Just show another way you can do that. Just keep your leg straight. Keep that leg straight. You can come forward if you're just feeling a bit more tired and you want to rest a bit. You can bring your head forward, your arms onto the chair, and rest your head. So first, keeping the foundation, the legs moving down, and then lengthen forward. Bring your arms folding, holding onto the elbows. Is that high enough?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, because you can always have one more. You can fold the blanket back, depending on how much height you need. You can even take a bolster. But the main idea is you want to get that extension and keep that space for the baby. And just rest your head, rest your forehead there. And while you do that, keep the arms relaxed, the shoulders relaxed, and just breathe. So sometimes if you've had a busy day, it's just a nice way to let go of everything, come back to the breath, and have a bit of a rest. All right, so then come up. How's that feeling? Nice? Okay, now stretch both legs out straight, and then you'll do the other side. So you're going to bend the right knee. You might have to come a little bit away from the wall for this. Okay, perfect. Right, so bending that leg out to the side. Keep this foot so it's in line with the hip. You can take it a little bit wider if you need more space, if you feel constricted there. And then once you have the strap there, just straighten the arms and come into a position where the shoulders are over the hips. So you establish that. You move the tailbone down. You move the tailbone down, top of the hips down. But then from here, you're lifting, lengthening, and bend the elbows out to the side. Use that connection from the hand to the elbow, elbow to the shoulder, and lengthen. So lengthen more on this side. Drop this thigh. So this right thigh, the bent knee, that hip is moving down. And this is part of your foundation. So as you go over that front leg, you're still working with that foundation to stay stable and lengthen. So she's working very hard here. She's very aware of her breath. So stay aware of your breath. Slow breath, soft breath. Okay, and then inhale, come up. And let's just show you get equal time here with resting your head. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so just bring your arms onto the chair. Yeah. So you adjust the chair according to your needs, according to what's happening in your body and what height you need. Just to show you, if she needed it, a little bit more height, lift your head up, Emma, and you can take, to get a little bit more length, which she's quite long, that might feel nicer for her. How does that feel? Yeah, so here she's got more extension, whereas before she was sinking a little bit. Here she can rest her arms completely, rest her head completely. So you have to just adjust according to the height of your chair, how firm the bolster is, what kind of blanket you have, and just making sure you're seated on something. Okay, and come up. Good. All right, so why don't you lay down completely. You can come to this mat here. So just lay down with your knees bent. We're going to show something which is really nice for the lower back. Supta Padangusthasana II. All right, so with your knees bent, lengthen your lower back. Okay, and I'm going to bring the bolster over here. Now, adjust your arms. Take the arms on the side of the mat and roll your shoulders so you get that same movement of the arm turning from the underarm to the outer arm, and then be right on your shoulder blades, on the flat edge of your shoulder blades. So that keeps your chest lifted. You can feel that. Okay, now you're going to extend both legs out, stretch out through the heels, bring the feet together. Good. And now I'm going to lift your heels up and place them on this block. Okay. Keep the extension through those heels. And I didn't show you this, did I? All right. So raise your right leg up. Okay. So here, she's going to, so if you're in your first trimester, you would not do this portion with the leg lifted. We're only going to do the leg over to the side, but just so that you know that when the leg is lifted like this in the first trimester, it's too much weight on the whole pelvic girdle. And in the first trimester, it's really critical that you don't do anything to disturb what's happening there so the baby can really take hold. Okay, take your left hand on that strap, bring your right arm opposite, bring your left arm onto the floor, your right hand on the strap. So take that one on the floor. Yeah. Okay, so I've got the bolster here. It's going to completely support your hip. Keep your thigh descending down, and then start to bring the leg over to the side, any amount. Okay, so here, with that support of the leg on the bolster, you can even press to this side. And you can bring the elbow down onto the floor, slide the hand down the strap, And with that elbow also, you can feel how you're moving over to the right a bit. You can bring the weight over to the left, from the chest to the pelvis to the thigh. Okay, so that's nice opening through the pelvis. It's also nice opening through the lower back. Bring your toes back towards you. And again, this is the same as in Baddha Konasana. You're lengthening the inner leg, and then from the outer heel, coming back to that outer hip socket. So there's a firmness there. It's just not laying, there's all the muscles around the hip joint. You want to keep those active. Okay? All right, now bring the leg up. Good. Take that strap off and bring the foot down. And then you'll come to the other side. Let me turn this block. Oops. Just throwing your feet around there. Okay, so now strap on the left leg. You're going to take this strap, bring that left leg up. Good. So just establish the position first. Keep this right thigh active, the right leg active, toes moving back towards you. So if you were standing and doing a balancing pose, this would be the foot that's on the floor. So this leg is active. This leg is now rotating out to the side. So this is a ball and socket joint, the femur bone moving into the hip socket, so it's turning in the hip. Now you can bring your right arm along the floor. So you're using that arm to keep that whole right side of the body down, and then bring the leg down. So you're resisting the leg moving down with those outer hip muscles, right? Not too much. You've got the bolster here, so you don't want to bring any tightness into the pelvis. And just be there. Now, if you needed more support, if that was too much for you, you could also bring more support to the leg. Okay, so whatever you feel is better, so that you're not getting any kind of pressure or tension. But it's really nice for the lower back. Okay, and as we know, as you have all of this extra weight in the abdomen, the tendency is to overextend your lower back, and that it can bring some back pain. So it just goes with the territory, doesn't it? So how can you do things that will help to alleviate what you've been doing unknowingly? Okay, so now roll over onto your right and press yourself up. And then come to standing. And you can come back here to your mat. Good. So in Tadasana, you're going to bring both feet apart, so hips width. So always standing hips width apart. So you keep that space through the pelvis. And then let's just bring your hands onto your hips to begin with, and move your weight to your toes. You can feel what's happening in your lower back. Your hips are going back to counter your balance, right? So now move your weight back to your heels. Let your front feet be light. What happens to the lower back? What happens to the buttocks? What happens to so it kind of so you don't fall back or forward. So when you're more on your toes, then you're getting more arch in the lower back. So it's like the sitting bones, right? So coming back more to that middle place, drop your tailbone down and lift your lower ribs up. That's it. Good. And then bring your hands down. Just stand in Tadasana. Be on the inner edge of the feet, outer edge of the feet. Be on the front mounds of the toes. Be on the heels. Just kind of go back and forth so you can feel what happens there, what happens in your back, what happens in your body, how you need to support yourself, and then come back to that middle position. And using the front of the foot and the back of the foot pads, lift up through the inner leg. Lift up through the pelvis. Lift up through the chest. Release your shoulders down. Now just bringing to mind that the outer hip socket, bringing that firmness to the outer hip socket, and lift up. Can you feel a difference? Yeah. So our pelvis is our center of gravity. Our feet are what helps us stay grounded and connected to the bones. When we're connected to the bones, that brings circulation and strength to the bones. So starting from the feet, lifting up, and then adjusting the pelvis. And as we already know, raising the arms will help us to get that length. Okay, so now we're going to go into Utthita Trikonasana. Just a couple standing poses, and then, so I think we'll move your mat to the wall, so you can have the wall as support. And you can have a block on each side. So I'll just show you first. You'll start with your feet wide, and then you'll rotate the front leg. And like we just did on the floor, your pelvis was fixed, so your tailbone couldn't go back. Your buttocks couldn't go back. All right, so here you're just getting the rotation, and then you'll go over that front leg and bring your hand onto the block. Okay, so spread your feet, and then turn that right leg out. And now kick this heel back a little bit so you get a little bit more spread through the legs. And we've got this nice hook here. Let's see where it goes. Okay. And you're going to lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And just bring your hand onto the block. All right, so you can feel how the buttock is at the wall. Just keep your hand on your hip. The buttock is at the wall. Move the buttock away from the wall and turn your chest toward the wall. Good. So you can, I have hooks here, so we don't want to go back into those hooks. But the bottom shoulder blade is coming forward, top chest is turning, and now bring your arms straight up. Once you have that turning action, so from the back waist corners turning, top hip moving back, extend your arm up, and just keep it lifting up. So for the head, lengthening the head, and then if you have this turning action, which Emma does nicely, she can turn and look up at her hand. Okay, and then inhale, come up. How did that feel? Okay, all right, so you have to make sure you're breathing. Even if you're doing something that you haven't done before, make sure to breathe. Okay, take your legs wide again. Hands on your hips. Now externally rotate that front leg, that left leg, and then turn the back heel out without turning that hip, so you're still moving this back to the wall. Now, just watch my hip. When you went into it, the tendency is to go forward this way and the hip go back. So we want the hip to stay into the body and lengthen over the front leg. And then have the block there for you to bring your hand or your fingertips on. Good. Now you can feel she doesn't have her hip at the wall, so good. Bring your hip forward even more and turn the pelvis, turn the chest. Good. Using that back leg, anchoring back. I'm going to bring the block a little bit further in. And now lift the arm up. Without getting that turning so much, just lift the arm straight up, create a little lightness. Lift up, lift up. Good. So turning from that back shoulder blade, the back waist, breathe. All right, and then inhale, come up. Now we're going to do it on the other side. Take your legs a little bit wider. You've got nice long legs. If you get more space, you'll be able to feel that you're getting more openness through the pelvis. Okay, so taking the legs wider. Now take this back heel back more. Stay close to the block. Bring your foot, yeah, that's good. Okay, good. Now you're going to, you can see the way the knee is facing. You want to externally rotate the leg. Keep that external rotation. So then as you do that, you feel that buttock is moving back. Yeah, okay, so that will control that. Stay on the front of the foot and the heel, and now lengthen, extend, back hand on your hip, bring the hand onto the block. There. Now you can feel your hip and thigh at the wall, move it forward toward the center of your mat, and turn any amount. Good. Now bring the arm up. Lift up with that arm. Press down with the bottom hand and create a little bit more openness and lightness. Here, I'm going to take another block and make it higher for you. So if it's too far down there, you stack your blocks, bring the whole hand onto that and press down, bring the shoulder blade in and lift up. Is that better? Yeah. So she needed a little bit extra height. So don't be afraid to take a height. You can take a chair. Okay, inhale, come up. I'm just going to show with the chair on the other side. So you can bring your hand onto the chair. Okay, same wide legs. You're going to externally rotate this leg. This one, you're going to face this way now. Yeah. And we won't use the blocks. We'll use the chair just to show what, in case you need to have that chair, as you get a little bit more advanced in your, that's it. So you take your hand down. I'm going to bring it closer. Okay, you can press the hand down. Good. And turn. So bring this heel back a little bit. Good. So using that bottom hand on the chair, get that extension through the arms. Stretch up through the fingertips. Bring that buttock forward without bringing the knee. So getting that external rotation as you move the buttock forward. Good. Breathing through your nose. Inhale, come up. Good. Was it better with the chair?
It was definitely easier with the chair.
Yeah. So depending, and it's late in the afternoon, so maybe you're more tired in the morning, maybe you can use the blocks, but so you have choices too, okay? All right, let's do one more, which is really nice pelvic opening, and it will be a balancing, and I'll have you use the chair as well. So just let me show you here before you go into it so you can see. Now come down the same way. You have your feet, turn the front foot, and then come down onto the chair, lift the back leg, and lift that. You can even have the chair turned. Bring the neck onto the chair and lift the back leg. So this pelvis is opening, thighs moving toward the wall, and then reach up or keep your hand here. But this gives you a nice opening through the pelvis. And when you're tired, it's a nice one to do. Or you can have your heel on the chair. So we'll do that on the other side. So first bring your foot forward, have your feet wide, nice wide stride. Okay, get that. And then actually bring your back foot in a little bit. It doesn't need to be as wide. And then come forward. Bring your hand onto the chair, maybe down onto that lower rail. Yeah, so you can bring your head down. Good. And then lift up through the back leg. Walk your toes in toward the front leg. A little bit more. Just walk them in and be on the toes. So you're going to you're going to shift all your weight to the front foot and lift up through the back leg. So let me just show you here. So you can bend the front knee and move that foot in. I don't think I showed you that. And then lift up. So bend the front knee. And then it doesn't want to go. Bend the front knee and then, yeah, that's good. Shift the weight. So you're quite long, so this chair probably doesn't work for you as far as the neck, but lift up. And now take this hand on your hip. Press down and turn. Now remember that hip at the wall. Bring the hip away from the wall a little bit as you move this pelvis up and lift that back leg. Now press into the standing heel, straighten the leg. That's it. Good. And then come down. Second side will be easier. All right, let me show you here. So we'll keep the chair here, and we'll take the blocks. And you wanted to have 2 blocks for that height. Okay, so from here, coming down, bend the knee, and your hand is going to be going further than your foot. So have the blocks a little bit further. So you come down, so you're shifting your weight. Okay, like that. And then standing on that leg, you can bring the leg onto the chair. And now, my buttock is at the wall. So I'm going to bring that buttock away from the wall, and what happens is my chest starts to turn. And you can use this rope, lift up, and turn. Keep that foot active, that leg active. And then to come down, just come down carefully. Okay? So that block might not be in the right position because you're a little bit longer than I am. So turn your toes forward, bend your knee, that's it. And now shifting your weight from here, slide your toe forward, shift, yeah, that's good, great. And then bring the leg up. I'm gonna slide the chair back. So once you've measured your distance and you kind of know, now press down into that heel, lift up through that arch. Remember those points at the front of the foot and the heel, press into those, lift up through the inner leg. Good. Holding onto that rope, lift up. And now bring the buttock away from the wall and turn the pelvis up toward the wall. Breathe. So keep this foot active. You can have a blanket there, toes moving back towards you. When you activate the toes, then you can see how you can lift the leg a little better. Okay. How's that feeling? Good? All right, so I'm going to have you come down. So you take the foot down first, release your hand, and come up. And then just stand against the wall in Tadasana, not on the hook. Okay. How does that feel? So you could feel that nice opening through the pelvis, yeah? And then again, you would lengthen your tailbone. So the lower back is moving toward the heel and the trunk is moving forward. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go into a lying down position. Okay, Emma, we're going to do Setu Bandha now. So this is called Setu Bandha, it's bridge pose. So you're getting a lift of the chest and your legs will be in line with your feet will be lifted in line with your legs. So I'm just going to show you here. You're a little bit different body structure than I am, not even counting your pregnancy. So I'm just going to try here and show you, and we may have to adjust a blanket here or there for you. So have a lift of the chest, right? The back of the head is on the floor, and the hips are supported with the legs up on the blocks. Okay, so the shoulders are rolling under, and there's a nice lift here, there's some length here. But you want to make sure that when you go into this, you're extending your lower back, and then you're stretching your legs. I'd like you to be able to have your feet at the wall. So adjust yourself so that happens. I'm going to take this blanket and fold it, okay?
Yeah, feels comfortable.
Yeah, it should feel comfortable. Okay, and your lower back?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here she's got a nice support under her back, lifting her chest. Her shoulders are rolled under, so she can completely release the arms, release the shoulders. And here she's got support under the middle of her torso and her upper back. Okay, so you can see here with the bolster, it's under her middle back into her hips, and she's got a lift in her chest. Because of that, the chest is lifting, the shoulders are rolling under, she's on the back of her head. And she has a little bit of support under her hips, so there's not too much curve of her lower back. So you can adjust a blanket under your hips, depending on the height of your bolster. But you want to have the shoulders on the floor, the back of the head on the floor. And then I don't want to have any kind of overextension or tension in the abdomen. So here she's got her feet up on a couple blocks, so she's pretty level. So here she should be able to feel the breath nicely and just be able to relax. You can close your eyes and just be aware of that inhalation and exhalation. And just feel the support that you have underneath you, and just take that to broaden and widen through the upper back, through the middle back, through the lower back. So in these restorative poses, when you're lying down, you can close your eyes completely, and that will help you to start to tune into the breath. You don't have to do anything to the breath except watch the breath and notice the breath. Notice what's happening with the breath. We're born with our breath from the moment we take our first breath, like your baby will do when he or she is ready to come. And with that first breath, that breath becomes your best friend. But we don't often pay attention to our breath. So just start to be acquainted with your breath and how the breath can help you to relax, to energize, to do so many different things. And then oftentimes you'll find that you're holding your breath or you're breathing out of your mouth. So just attempting to bring some regularity to the breath, softness to the breath, and quietness to the breath. Okay, now bend your knees and you're going to slide down. So press with the feet, slide down your head side. Slide down that way. Yeah. Good. And then bring your hips all the way onto the floor. Rest your lower back. You can rest your legs there. So when you slide off, it's better to slide that way because all of the skin and the bones start to move downward. Instead of going the other way, you're going to have to strain in the abdomen. So just sliding off that way, the head side. Okay, now bend your knees and roll over to your right. So we'll do one inversion, which is legs up the wall. It's called Viparita Karani. So take the bolsters away. And I'll use one of these blocks just to make a little bit of a spacer at the wall. All right? You want to be able to drop the hips down into this space. So I'm going to raise up the bolster just a little bit so you have more height. You're quite long and tall, so I'm going to give you more height. And then I'll bring that onto the bolster. Okay, so now when I ask you to sink your hips down here, you won't be touching the block, but you'll be able to move between this space. So I'll show you. There's a way to go into this. I'm going to give you the ropes here to help you a little bit. And it's from the side. So you sit on one edge of that bolster. Can you hand me the strap? Okay, if you're in your first trimester, you will not be doing this one. If you're in your second or third trimester, you can just have the strap loosely, like that. And then bring your hips. So I'm bringing the hip in toward the wall. I have the rope here, which you can use. But if you don't have the rope, you're basically just swiveling your hips up and around. Okay? So now I'm moving down this way. And I was a little bit to the side, so I'm moving to the center. And from here, I'm going to roll the shoulders under. So the shoulders now are going to be brakes, because all the weight is coming down with gravity to the shoulders, And I want to lift up, come closer to the wall. So this is a little high for me. I wouldn't have this many blankets, but for you, I think you can do it. We'll see. Maybe I'll take one blanket away. All right, so now the legs are lifted. You can let the legs spread like that. And then release the legs down into the hips so that the abdomen is quiet, and roll the shoulders under and just rest the arms. Okay, so when you come down, you'll bend the knees. You'll take your shoulders the opposite way and slide down. You can just bring the legs back into Baddha Konasana, okay? And then you'll roll to your side. Okay, so now I think I'll take one blanket away. It's a little too much for me. It might be too much for you. So now you're going to sit here on this edge and tuck that hip under and then swivel up and around. And then before you go down, move your hips closer to the wall if you can, so that you're bringing the legs closer to the wall. And if you can't, just come down. Just come down onto your shoulders. Okay, now shimmy your shoulders forward and move your hips toward the wall. So the idea is you want to get as close to the wall as possible, so you just, wherever you've managed to get, and you can just stay there, rest and stay there. Now I'm just going to bring the strap onto her legs so she doesn't have to think about holding the legs at all, and in fact she can kind of press them apart to have that space. And from there, the legs are moving down into the hip sockets. They're connecting, the bones are connecting with the pelvis. So the heaviness of the legs descending down with gravity. Tuck your shoulders under a little bit more, that's it. So when you have that movement of the top of the shoulder, lift up a little bit, and moving that shoulder down, you make space in the neck as well. And there's then no chance that you're going to slide while you're there. And so you can just hold that position. Good. And close your eyes. Just relax your breath. So it's important to take care of yourself, to take the rest that you need. We're going to end up with Savasana, which is going to be just a resting pose. And I would advise that you can do that 2 or 3 times a day, as much as you need it. Whether you think you need it or not, do it anyway. So when you start practicing yoga, you do all kinds of things. But when you become pregnant, there's things that you don't do, which is you stop doing any strong twisting action, you stop doing back bending, you stop doing deep forward bending. So there's a list of different things, and I'll put that in the writing so you can look at that. But it's important to always keep your feet wide, separated, create space, create length, and just be aware of what's happening in your body. Shoulders moving down, but the chest lifted. Of course, eating healthy meals, taking breaks for yourself, staying hydrated. Hydrated. Keep the breath relaxed. Let the legs descend down. So a couple of other little things to just remember is that you don't want to squeeze. You don't want to squeeze and put any pressure on the pelvis. So just be aware of any stress that comes. Oftentimes we have tension in our abdomen, and then you'll feel that tension in the throat and the tension in the eyes. So just be aware of any tension in your abdomen and just breathe into it so that you don't have that tension that creates tension in your throat, tension in your eyes, tension in your nervous system. We did some standing poses. Normally in our asana practice, we would jump our feet apart. So there's no jumping. You're just walking your feet apart and just using caution and good sense about how to observe balance in the body. Okay, so Emma's going to come out now. So taking that strap off. Now you're going to slide down, bring your hips onto the floor, and then you'll bring your legs back into Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. Let your legs rest on that bolster, making sure that the tailbone is moving toward the bolster, down, away from your lower back, opposite direction. That's it. Tailbone away from the lower back. So you can stay in this pose. This is also a nice pose to go into, Supta Padangusthasana Konasana. You can do it this way with the feet on the bolster. You can also have the bolster under the back and the feet on the floor. So just roll to your right, and we'll just show the bolster under the back body. So you can just take that just for a moment or so. You have a blanket under your head. Okay, and so this will be, your hips will be on the floor. You have about 5 or 6 inches here, so the lower back is not right up against the bolster, but it is pressing down, and then lengthen over the bolster. You can have your legs crossed. You can have your legs in Baddha Konasana. And if you were going to stay in this pose for some time, you could bring some little bit of support to your outer thighs, like we did with that bolster, so that you could completely release and open in the pelvis so there's no tension there. How does that feel? Really nice? Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing is when you bring the blanket under the head, once you've got it there, then, and you've adjusted your shoulders, then bring the blanket all the way up to your shoulders. And that's a good way to start to practice the breath. Just breath awareness, which you can do in Shavasana, but you could also do in this pose. The idea is you want the forehead slanting down toward the chin, so you can feel there that the throat is soft, the back of the neck is long. All right, so I wanted to give you an idea of that pose. I'm sure you want to stay in that pose longer, but I'm going to bring you out and you can come into Shavasana now. So I'm going to show Shavasana from the side. When you get to be a certain number of weeks, the baby is quite heavy and you have one nerve and one canal running down the back. You don't want to have that pressure on that nerve. So you would sleep at night on your side, yeah? And a way to do that is to have a blanket, have a couple blankets around you, but have a couple of bolsters also, so that when you're on your side, you can use a blanket for your head, and then take the bolster. Once you come onto the side of the hip, bring the bolster between the legs, and then I'll take that blanket as well. This is nice to use for the arms, or you can use another bolster. So you'll come down like so. It's a little bit too low, so I'm going to bring this blanket here. So now give me your bolster. And then you can have the arm on the bolster, So you're completely resting the shoulder. The hips are one over the other, and there's no pressure on the back. And you can just take Shavasana like this. Okay, and then when you come up, you'll press and come up. So never come up from down and up. Always roll to your side. All right? So now just lay down on your side. You can have these blankets for your head. All right, so you're on your hip, and you bring the bolster there. Okay, and now I'm just going to bring this. You can place it wherever you feel it's comfortable for your arm. Okay, so you can completely release. You can even have a blanket underneath the abdomen if that were to feel better. Okay, how do you feel? Good. Okay, so oftentimes you may want to be in bed this way because it gives relief for your lower back. Your tailbone is moving down, and there's some space between the legs. So just in this position, start to bring attention to your breath. Allow the breath to soften. Relax your face, relax your jaw. Relax the tongue. So it's coming to the lower palate of the mouth. Lips parting slightly. Feeling the whole face and head relaxed. So we're holding up our head throughout the day in standing positions and sitting positions. The head is quite heavy. So just allow the head to completely be supported. So that the neck and the throat become soft, relaxed. Your shoulders are relaxed with that support of the arm on the bolster. And then the leg on the bolster. Feeling that space across the lower back and the front pelvis. And then just feeling the inhalation through the nostrils. The cool air coming in, the warm air moving out. Keeping the breath soft, slow, and relaxed. With that quiet breath, begin to lengthen your exhalation. Just a little. So taking a few lengthened exhalations. And then just let the breath relax completely, not extending the exhalation or the inhalation. So allow the breath to breathe you naturally. Not doing anything, just letting go of any kind of doing. Just allow your body to be, your breath to be. Letting go of your thoughts. Just be with your breath. And now begin to deepen your breath. For those of you that are watching, you can stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like. Emma, begin to bring awareness down into your toes, your fingers. And then when you're ready, you press yourself up, taking that bolster away. And then you can just sit on your heels. So sit in Vajrasana. Good. Just close your eyes, come back to the breath. Bring your hands in front of you to Namaste. Namaste. Thank you, Emma. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And special thanks to Emma for allowing us to take part in her journey with her baby. I was just thinking that we would love to see the baby when the baby's delivered. I'm sure you would too. All right. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Namaste.